about water and urban places. This is Ideanthro. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ideanthro. Over our past 190 odd episodes, yes it has been that long, over our past 190 odd episodes, we've spoken a lot about different ways to try and make our bioretention systems and other types of stormwater treatment systems easier to maintain, tweak little elements of them to make them simpler, better to maintain, nicer, fit better within the streetscape and the road reserve, and on and on and on. Examples of this might be the Zam-Worcester assets that Manningham City Council in Victoria has created. Low maintenance or zero additional maintenance bioretention systems for stormwater treatment. Similarly, the Hoyland Street bioretention on Brisbane's north side, which is like a little pocket of bushland, also fits into this space. But what we've never spoken about before is, okay, it's all well and good to have these ideas of individual assets that are low maintenance because they were put in the right place at the right time. But how do we go and do that on a more mainstream level? Because so much of the stormwater treatment that is delivered in our cities comes in new development, where essentially councils are setting up the rules and the planning schemes that say, hey developer, when you come along and you want to do your development, here's the way we'd like you to do it. I've never spoken before in these videos of, hey, actually, how could we go and implement this into a planning scheme to try and, instead of developers going out and really well-intentioned building, the bioretention system that their consultants feel is right for that situation. Instead, how could the local authority go and direct and says, okay, in this instance, we'd like a bioretention system like this. Of course, we're not saying it has to be bioretention. You'd go through all the normal processes to work that out. But once you've arrived at you're building a bioretention system, what can a government do with their planning scheme to say, hey, in this instance, because of these particular site parameters, what can you do? Today I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to use a particular local government's stormwater quality guideline as an example. We are going to use Whitsunday Regional Council's stormwater quality guideline. I will put the link on the screen right here so that you can go and find it. You can also Google it. You can find it on the screen there. But before we go any further, big bias warning. The reason I'm using this particular guideline is because I'm familiar with it, and the reason I'm familiar with it is that I was one of several people who, working with Sunday Regional Council and the local development industry, wrote this document. So big bias alert, Jack wrote this, Jack clearly likes it, use your own opinion as to how much you like it. But Whitsunday Regional Council's stormwater quality guideline here does something really nifty. It has a section, when you get down into the bioretention section, I believe it's page 27 of the document, when you get down into that section, you'll see a word appear, and it's called typology. And in this guideline, what it does is it essentially says that, hey, look, we're in the bioretention section, but there's actually within that a whole bunch of different subsets or typologies of bioretention. So you think one of them might be like Manningham's Zam-Worcester systems. So it's a grassed streetscape bioretention system. Or you might then have something that's like Hoyland Street. So it's a pocket bushland, medium-sized bioretention system. And it outlines quite a number of these different typologies. At the beginning on page 27, it kind of lists them. The page 27 is the streetscape system. Go later on for some stuff that's more precinct scale. Page 27 is the streetscape stuff. It says, look, realistically, there's about 4 different typologies here, different setups, different ways of putting this bioretention thing together and how it fits into the landscape. It lists what each of them are, it shows a photo of each of them, and then there's a further section for each one of them, just describes in detail what they are, and importantly says, hey look, this type can be used in this type of development. So for example, if you're doing a standard residential development where there, for whatever reason, wasn't going to be any street trees, then the type that we want is a low profile turf streetscape bioretention system, just like the Manningham ones, took the idea from there. That's the type we want in that situation, and it directs the development and says, okay, that's it. Now, it's not necessarily saying that's the only one, but what it's saying is for that particular type, which is the low profile turf type here, that should be applied in a street where there wouldn't otherwise be a street tree. And then it goes on and says, well, we can have a low profile turf and tree type system. Now that should be applied in a street, a normal residential street where there was going to be turf on all the verges, but there are also some street trees. Put it together. And on it goes. It goes towards some higher profile systems that are more like the conventional streetscape bioretention systems that we have. And it says, hey, you know what? Those are actually appropriate in some situations. Because in Whitsunday's case, they've got this tourist hub that is Airlie Beach, and it's quite built up. And it says, well, if you're in this area that's much more higher profile, it's the sort of spot that you would have embellished with a garden anyway. Well, in this instance, we want this higher profile type bioretention system because we want the bioretention to embellish the landscape. And it goes on. So it then says, well, in further sections, we're now into the precinct type systems. Well, we've got these types of precinct systems. This one can be used here and this one can be used here. And essentially just sets up a matrix. Probably should have put this in a table to tell you the truth. It just sets up a matrix that says, look, if you're this type of development, you can use these types of treatment systems. And if you're this type of treatment system, you can fit into these types of developments. And it just provides that subtle direction so that council gets the types of systems where it wants in the right spot. It's not dissimilar, and big shout out to Tim Davies, who you've met before in episode 149 for pointing this out to me. It's not really any different. If you look at, say, a council like Brisbane City Council has a road landscaping design guidelines and like a streetscape hierarchy that essentially divides every street in the city into one of like 7 or 8 different categories. And then in the road landscaping guideline says, look, if you're in this type, urban centre such and such type, I'm clearly making up the names. If you're in urban centre such and such type, well, this is the type of road landscaping you put in. So what I'm describing here with the bioretention systems is nothing new. I mean, we already do it for our road landscaping. It's just saying, let's start doing it for our woodset. If you want to get really nifty, Tim, you'll like this, because it's your idea. If you want to get really nifty, what you would then do is actually integrate that all together. So it's not a road landscaping guideline on its own that's saying, hey, look, woodset of landscaping of these types go here, and it's not a stormwater guideline over here saying, stormwater of these types over here. It's one integrated package that says, look, these are the streetscape hierarchies. These are the sorts of treatment systems and the particular typologies of each treatment system that we have. This is the mix that we want in the city. And it fits with the road landscaping, and where the road landscaping can be water sensitive, that road landscaping is water sensitive, and it all fits together. But if you want a tangible example you can look at right now, Whitsunday Regional Council's guideline is a good place to start. I hope you found that useful. I hope that's an opportunity to take something that's been a little bit esoteric or like one-off or case study-y, like, hey, look at this low maintenance site, or look at this site that does it better than normal, and gives you an idea of really actually how simple it is to take some of this stuff from one-off examples and bring it into mainstream policy. It's not a massive change to the guideline, right? It's a couple of pages of text in the guideline. Some of that stuff would have had to be said anyway, but it makes things a lot clearer. It makes things clearer for the development sector as well, because they know there's no risk of they're going to put in this highly embellished system in a residential lot because that's what they thought they had to do, and someone's going to turn around and say, no, redesign it, do this other type, right? It's clarity up front. It's actually good for the development sector. And that's that. And of course, this is one of these things, right, where I said up front, clearly I'm biased and like what we had the opportunity to write with Whitsunday Council and their development sector. But these things will improve. I'm sure that guideline will continue to be refined in the future, as everything we do with water-sensitive urban design is. But we can look to all sorts of different examples around the place, pick the best bits, and grow this industry. And I hope that example from Whitsunday Regional Council was useful for you. That's the episode. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Before you go, our best episodes come from your questions. This knowledge base, these discussions that are Ideanthro, improve with your contribution. So if there's a topic, an idea, a concept that you would like us to explore, come and ask us. You know where to find us. www.ideanthro.com/contact. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and that place you get your good podcasts from. You know where to find us. We look forward to hearing from you. We'll see you soon.